Good morning, you guys, or whatever time of day it is for you. I'm Alicia. Welcome to Plow and Pantry. Today I am making some more breakfast freezer meals. I have done a video with 5 breakfast freezer meals before. I can link that in an iCard for you. I'm doing different ones today, though. And I'm going to start. I'm going to do breakfast burritos, which I did in my last video, but I'm going to do them a little bit different. And I'm also going to do some more croissant breakfast sandwiches, also a little bit different because those were a huge hit. We're doing some paleo-ish chocolate banana bread muffins, what else am I doing? Some strawberry lemonade scones. I recently got strawberries. I'm on the tail end of those. And let's see, something else that I can't remember right now. So in preparation, I pulled some things out of the freezer last night. I am going to start by getting my meat going for my croissants and my burritos. But so for the breakfast burritos, I'm going to put sausage in them. And I decided to mix 2 different types. I have a regular bulk sausage, and I have from my local pasture-raised farm, I have a maple pork sausage that is really, really good. And I thought this a tiny hint of maple would be really good in the burritos, but I didn't want the whole flavor to be that. So I'm going to mix these 2, I think, in a pan. I also thawed some bananas. So I have one of these that needs to be used. And when this happens in my house, I just peel them and put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them for smoothies or banana bread, stuff like that. So these are thawed now. I keep all that liquid. They look gross when they're thawed. They don't look so bad in the freezer, but once they thaw, they turn brown and they release liquid. But they are still good. And they make excellent baked things, so it's a great way to not waste bananas. So I have those thawed, and I got out an extra bacon to thaw. I'm going to do my bacon in the oven. I just turned it on to 350. I only chose 350 because I'm going to be cooking some other stuff at 350 today, so I thought, why not just put it where I want it. I'm going to get this bacon on here, and I'm going to do half of these croissant sandwiches the way I did last time. By the way, the other thing I did in preparation was I went to the store. I went to Aldi and got croissants and burrito-sized tortillas because I didn't want to use up all the ones we had, and I like their croissants. They're as good as Costco's to me, but I don't really like my local grocery store croissants. I have made croissants before, but I kind of felt like for the work that it was, they're not hard. It just takes a long time. It's like fold and butter and fold and butter and refrigerate and fold and butter and fold and butter and refrigerate. It takes a while. And I just thought, for the amount of work they take versus the cost of them, I'd rather buy them most of the time. Anyways, I bought croissants from Aldi, and this bacon is from Butcher Box. So I'm getting this bacon in a pan to cook, and I just find it's cleaner that way. These can touch. They will shrink up quite a bit while they're baking, so it's totally okay. You just don't want them really overlapping because you don't want them to get stuck together, but if the sides are touching, it's fine. Getting as much as I can fit into this pan. I'm doing 18, so I think I'm going to get another pan and do 2 of them. What I'm going to do to make these different this time, I'm going to do half of my croissant sandwiches the way I did last time, which is just bacon, egg, and cheese. I think last time I put sausage on them, actually. I'm going to put ham on half of them because one of my kids and my husband both like it that way, and I'm just using a lunch meat ham. And then I'm going to put bacon on the other half, and this is going to be a maple peppered bacon. So I'm going to get it mostly cooked, and then I'm going to, when it's almost cooked, I'm going to brush it with a little bit of maple syrup and sprinkle pepper on it, black pepper, and finish it off that way before it goes on the croissant sandwich. By the way, I cut them in half, partly because it's an easy way to open the package and partly because I like the way this cut in half fits on the croissant. So let's get these into the oven, and then we'll get the sausage started. And I'm just going to get this well mixed so that I have a little bit of both types of sausage in every bite or every burrito. This package is just over a pound. I really love this stuff. It's really good. This sausage that is not the pastured one from my local farm, I just got at Aldi. I do find though That's not only a cheaper place to get like regular, I call it regular sausage, you know, like in the regular store, but it actually has pretty clean ingredients compared to if I go to my local grocery store and I buy the one that says natural on it, and it only has like half clean ingredients. And so I find it actually a better product. It doesn't say natural on it, but I feel like it's more natural than some of the natural ones in the store. And it's less expensive even than the other ones are when they're on sale. So I tend to stock up on those when I can't get my local farmer's good sausage. All right. While this is going and the bacon's going, I need to wash up some eggs. I need a lot of eggs today. So I'm going to do, let's see, I'm probably going to go through 4 or 5 dozen eggs today, which is part of the reason I'm doing this. I really, really love having good breakfasts in the freezer. It makes school mornings so much easier. And I also really needed to eat up some eggs. I've given away 2.5 dozen eggs this week alone, and I still have about 7 dozen sitting on my counter, if not more. I have no idea how many I have here. 46, 47, 48. So 4 dozen eggs. We'll see if that's enough. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 batches of eggs. One for the breakfast burritos, and I'm going to put that in the same pan the sausage is in. I'll take the sausage out and use the sausage grease for that. And I'm going to do some eggs. What I've never done before is I'm going to bake them on a cookie sheet. So I'm going to use about 18, I think. I have 18 croissants for the breakfast sandwiches. And I'm going to average, I might do 20. I just want to make sure I have enough for each sandwich. But I'm going to bake them on a cookie sheet, which I have not done before, so that I can then just cut them apart instead of doing individual eggs for each croissant. Because the ones for the breakfast burrito will be more scrambled, but these need to be like in a little all together kind of puck type thing. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm going to try the cookie sheet method. I do give these back to my chickens. I don't cook them. I don't cook the eggshells or anything like that. A lot of people do. I just kind of smush them so they're not in egg shape. And I just put them in the bin with the regular food and they eat them. And that's really where they get their calcium. I don't do the oyster shell. They also get some from soldier fly larvae or food that naturally has calcium in it that they get in their little compost bucket. Today's amount of eggs, though, I might need 2 compost bowls. Okay, so I have 18 croissants and I have 16 tortillas for burritos. So I'm going to need more than a dozen for each of those things. What I'm going to do first, before I cook the eggs, is I'm going to get hash browns started. And I'm going to do the hash browns in 2 batches because I'm going to do 2 different types of breakfast burritos this time. I'm going to mess with the potatoes a little bit. So I'm going to do some of these plain, the way I made them last time. That's probably my youngest daughter's preferred way. I just put salt and pepper on the hash browns, and that's totally doable. Okay, I'm trying to get most of this out. But then the other ones I'm going to put some more spices on. So, get this back on. I'm going to do about half of these potatoes now. These were frozen potatoes I got from Azure. I can put that whole link in an iCard if you want it. And I just thawed out about half of them last night. I put them in a Ziploc bag in my fridge so that they would be thawed for today. Let me put salt, pepper, Give them a toss. As much of a single layer as possible on those. Okay, and then I think that my bacon is ready to do the next step with. Yes, it is. Get both pans out here. This one's really ready. A little bit too ready. Okay, I need to get maple syrup. I'm just getting a little bit of syrup in dish here. Keep this out because I'm going to need it later. And my brush. And I'm just going to brush these with syrup. Now, if you do bacon in the oven, it's my preferred way because it is less messy, at least on top. But if you do bacon in the oven, there's a couple of different ways people do it. I don't bother with the parchment and stuff for throwing it away because I'm going to save the bacon grease. Some people do it on a cookie sheet. I actually just like the crispy level texture, you could say. If it just cooks in the pan and continues to kind of fry itself in its own grease. I know some people are turned off by grease. For me, it depends on the grease, and bacon grease is one I like. And then I'm going to sprinkle these with pepper. I'm going to rotate these pans when I put them back into finish because obviously the one on the bottom got more done, which is normal. Okay, so we'll put this on top for less time. And this on the bottom for a little more. We stir the potatoes here. These are almost ready already. You know what I could do? I'm not going to do it today, but next time I might try a couple just for myself of using sweet potato hash browns. That sounds really good to me right now. And I still have sweet potatoes from a fall purchase. I also have freeze-dried sweet potatoes that I have not yet tried, and I want to do that. Okay, these are ready for burritos, so I'm going to pull these off and do the second batch. Kind of half cleaning the pan there. I'm going to need some more oil because that used up all the bacon grease. I'm going to put some butter in it too, just for flavor. And pull down some spices here. I want to put some garlic salt and paprika in these. Actually, I'm going to use smoked paprika. Get the rest of these in. I'm being pretty liberal here. By the way, I will have all of these recipes linked below or typed if I don't have a link for them. That could actually use a little more paprika. I'm going to use some pepper. Toss it up again. We'll let that cook. I think one of my bacons might be ready to come out. Yes. Okay. All right, I'm going to get these onto a cooling rack while this cooks. Turn it down a little bit. By the time I was done getting those on the cooling rack, the second pan was done. All right, I have sausage potatoes. Come back to those eggs in a minute. Get my other potatoes here. My husband and my youngest daughter really love potatoes in their breakfast burritos, and I think that they're gonna like this. I'm pretty darn sure my husband will love it. Okay, I will admit that I am very nervous about doing this egg pan thing. And I'm mostly just worried that it's going to be stuck and I'm not going to be able to get it out of the pan. If it works, it'll be a magical time saver when I'm batch cooking, but I'm scared to try it. We'll find out. Okay. Let's get this sprayed. And I'm going to spray it really well. And I'm going to rub it all over and make sure all the corners have the spray and up the sides and be extra, extra vigilant. Make sure there's no dry spots. I'm doing my part. Fingers crossed, say a prayer for me that it works. So now I have these eggs. These are the ones that are going on the croissants. I need to season them and whisk them with some milk. Okay, we'll do some salt. Might seem like a lot, but remember there's like 20 eggs in there. So you want every layer of these to have flavor. I just do a couple tablespoons of cream or milk or whatever, not much. And I've used water in a pinch as well, and it's been fine. There's a lot of conflicting information out there about whether or not you should add liquid to your eggs. I find a tiny bit helps it poof and be light. I'm going to leave this out actually because I'm going to need it. Makes them be nice and light and fluffy. And I have done a side-by-side comparison, but too much is not good. Okay, that's about as much air as I can whip into them by hand in a batch this big. Pour it into the pan. Oh, very carefully. Very, very carefully. Okay, I think this is supposed to take like 12 to 15 minutes. This is kind of scary. Okay. All right. I can already tell that my oven is a little not level. While that's cooking, I'm going to snag a piece of bacon. All right, it's good. Really good. I'm going to sprinkle a little more pepper over the top of them. Okay. Next. Whoopsie. All right. Here's what I want to do next. I think I'm going to start on one of the things I did in planning for today is I took the things I need recipes for, my muffins, my oatmeal cookie dough bake, and my strawberry lemonade scones I'm making. I'm going to make a triple batch of each for the freezer. And so I went through and rewrote them with the triple measurements already done so that I don't have to try to do it as I go. I tend to make mistakes when I do that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get the muffins started so that they are ready to go in the oven when the eggs that are in there now come out. So this is going to be, these are a paleo recipe, and they are chocolate banana bread muffins. And normally I do them in a blender. I'm not sure if my blender can handle a triple batch though, but I'm going to see today and try and dump it in a bowl, maybe do in batches and then mix it. I have frozen these before, but I have not made larger batches before. So I don't know if it's all going to fit in here. We will see. You need, for a triple batch, 6 bananas, which is about what I have. You can go by cups. One thing I have discovered over time, though, is that most bread or dessert recipes that use a fruit or vegetable, like banana bread, zucchini bread, carrot cake, stuff like that, you can usually put extra of the fruit or vegetable if you have it and you want to do that. In an effort to get rid of zucchini, I have been known to put like 5 cups of zucchini in a recipe that called for 3 before. All right, so first thing, I'm just going to get these bananas blendered up. I know it looks gross at this point, but once it's in the baked stuff, you don't know, and it's so good. So I think I'm going to end up putting it in a bowl and mixing it, but for now I'll get what I can in here. Syrup, the triple batch. Okay. 9 eggs. I'm going to mix this, put this in a bowl next. Yes, that is very full. Okay, let me get my big bowl here. And you don't have to do this in a blender. You could totally mix it by hand. I just like how the blender makes quick work of it. And I like my bananas completely pureed. I don't like chunks of banana in there. I'm going to put most of the rest of my ingredients in here, and then I'm going to put part of it back in here with the chocolate chips. And there's a reason for that. Okay, I need 6 cups of almond flour. I put in, this is a double chocolate. It's got cocoa powder and it has chocolate chips. And when I put in the chocolate chips in the blender, I like how it puts them all throughout. I guess you could say it chops them up, incorporates them into the mixture. And so I want to do that. So what I'll do is put part of this when it's mixed back in there with the chocolate chips, blender it up, and then mix it back in the bowl to even it out. Okay, 6 cups of almond flour. This away. A cup and a half of cocoa powder. I need salt, cinnamon, baking soda. Let's see, a teaspoon and a half of salt. And I'm lazy. I don't usually get out like a teaspoon and a half teaspoon measure. I'll use my teaspoon and then use half of it, getting close. Let's check on this egg thing. Okay, it definitely needs more time. Salt, 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. Some of my measuring teaspoons fit in this and some don't for the teaspoon. 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. I bought this a long time ago and I just refill it with a Costco size cinnamon. 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Okay. So that is what's left until my chocolate chips. So I'm going to use this whisk my mother-in-law got me to mix this all up. This is a wet muffin batter. It's not really, really thick. That's totally okay. It cooks up nicely. Okay, I'm going to take some of this, put it back in. All right, and I'm going to add my chocolate chips into here and then put it all back in there. So I need about 1.5 cups. I'll be honest, I don't normally measure. I'm going to measure just for you guys. Mostly I'm going to measure because I can't see with this how much it is. Usually I guesstimate by looking. Like if I'm making chocolate chip muffins, I'll use handfuls and then be like, that looks like it's chippy enough. I totally just put them in the bowl and I meant to put them in the blender. I'm a dork. All right, I'm gonna pull out what I can and put them in the blender. All right, so not all of them made it in, but that's fine. We'll have some whole chocolate chips. I like to mix it a couple times just to make sure that some of those chocolate chips are getting down to the bottom by the blades. Checking on the eggs. Getting closer. The edges are poofier. I'm gonna go with 2 more minutes. All right, it looks like the eggs are ready to come out of the oven. Okay. It looks good. Looks like it worked. The real test will be, does it come out of the pan? Okay, so for the next thing, I want to get the muffins in the oven so that I can move on to the other stuff. We're almost halfway done here. So I am going to spray these really, really well, because one thing I have found with recipes that don't have actual flour, like these are kind of a paleo-ish recipe. They have almond flour instead of like real flour, is that they will stick a lot and they will be next to impossible to get out. So I take my time to really get the pans prepped. I have heard that non-stick spray, like, I mean, all the sprays kind of considered that's what you use it for is non-stick, but I've heard that there's one, I might have flour in it, that is really helpful with this. I just have not bought that and don't necessarily want those ingredients. You could grease and flour. In fact, I might do that as a test with one of these. I've never greased and floured before. I might flour just one and see. If you're trying to stay away from gluten or flour, that would kind of defeat the purpose. But as long as the main recipe doesn't have any real flour, I'm good with just flouring the pan. And I guess you could use almond flour for it. I just feel like it's gonna be more of the same problem though. Make a little bit of flour and do one. This is just regular all-purpose flour. And that way I can compare at the end if one of these works better for the nonstick than the other. Because honestly, my original thought is laziness. I don't want to grease and flour 36 tiny cake pans, you know? This seems like a lot of work if it's a muffin. All right, let's see. I guess it actually wasn't that bad. Okay, let me just give it one more turn here to make sure it's all mixed together. I did dump the blender stuff in, and I can't remember if I stirred it after that, but I want all the chocolate chips incorporated. They make tiny little fudgy bites after it's baked. It's delicious. These need to cook for 18 to 22 minutes. We'll start on the lower side. And then I'm going to get started on scrambling up eggs for the breakfast burritos. I want to get some butter into this pan, and I brought my eggs over. I'm doing about 16 eggs because I have 16 burritos. I just turned the heat off under my butter because I don't want it burning. I'm doing 16 burritos. I think 16 eggs will be enough, even though that's only 1 egg per burrito, just because I want to have room for meat and cheese and potato. Get this heat back on. Salt, pepper, and then I am just scrambling these up gently to go in the burritos. And then once they're cool enough to handle, they'll be ready to start wrapping because we've already done the potatoes, we've done the sausage, we've done the 2 types of potatoes. I have cheese shredded. I'm pretty sure I have enough for all those burritos already shredded. And then I have 2 more things I am making, neither of which I'm going to cook. I'm going to make some strawberry lemonade scones. Those are one of my kids' favorites. And I'm going to, you can bake scones and freeze them and then just reheat them. But for scones and a lot of cookies and biscuits, I find that I prefer it if I freeze the dough or batter or whatever, and then I take it out of the freezer the night before and bake it off in the morning. And you can bake them from frozen too. You just have to add extra time usually, but I prefer thaw and then bake. So the scones I'm going to do that with. And then I'm also going to do an oatmeal cookie dough bake. It's like a baked oatmeal. It's one of my kids' favorite things. I have not frozen that before either, but I have been looking at baked oatmeal recipes online, and they are apparently really freezable. Okay, with these just about done, what I'm going to do is split these in half. Because remember, I'm doing half of my breakfast burritos the way I normally do, and half I'm doing something a little bit different this time. So I'm going to put half of these in a bowl to go in my regular burritos, and then the other half, go ahead and turn the heat off, I'm going to put in some green chilies. I'm not going to put this whole jar. You wanted to, you could. You do you kind of thing. I'm just going to put probably like a tablespoon in that amount. Mix it in and see how it looks. Okay, and I'm going to take these out. Take these over to the bar. All right, while all that's cooling, I'm going to get started on some strawberry lemonade scones. And I have not done a triple batch in this mixture in the mixer before, so I'm not sure it fits. We're going to try it. And I need 7.5 cups of flour. So I need a 1 cup measure. Worst case scenario is we take it into a big bowl because it doesn't fit in here and mix it by hand, which is fine. Okay, so one, I'm gonna take this out of my way. This is regular all-purpose flour. I just poured it in here so it's nice and fluffy, and a half. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep this out over on the counter because I'm gonna have to roll these out. All right, I need a cup of sugar. This is my half cup measure. This, by the way, is really, really good with my strawberry jam on top. When I got a whole bunch of strawberries, I made no pectin strawberry jam. I'll link that video for you. Strawberry lemonade scones with warm strawberry jam. Oh my gosh, I'm getting hungry right now. Okay, 3 tablespoons of baking powder. 1, 2, 3. 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. 1.5 cups. Okay, I want to mix this stuff first. Yes, this is the dry stuff. I want to mix it first just to get it all combined. Because you don't want to overwork scone dough. You want to keep it nice and tender by not overworking it. Butter. So one of the keys for scones and biscuits and quick breads, maybe not so much muffins, but things that you want light and flaky, pie crust, you want your butter to be cold. Oop, let's check on those muffins. Okay, they look done in that pan. Those need a couple more minutes, maybe like 2. These look done. Okay. What I'm looking for with these is that they are pulling away slightly from the edge of the pan. It's creating its own little space on the side, and they're set. They are soft in the middle still, but they are set completely. Okay, what was I saying? One of the keys of the flaky quick breads is to have very cold butter, which is why I will usually okay, we are done with the oven for today. Okay, as I was saying, so it's why I will usually actually, once I make something like a scone, I'll shape it and get it ready to bake, but I'll put it in the refrigerator for a minute or 2, well, 5 or 30, just to make it more, just to re-chill that butter that starts to get warm as I'm making it. Because the warmth from your hands, from the air, from the friction from being mixed in, it all starts to slowly melt the butter, and cold butter makes for flakier goods. So after I get the butter in here, there's a key to the strawberryness, and that is that I use a combination of fresh and freeze-dried strawberries. So I freeze-dry my own strawberries, and I just did a batch in that big strawberry processing day. But I also know you can buy them at grocery stores too. They used to be hard to find. I used to get them when my kids were little. I would get them at Trader Joe's. It was the only place I ever saw them as a snack. But now I see them at the regular grocery store along with like freeze-dried apples, stuff like that. And I've seen them at Aldi too. But the combination of the 2 forms of strawberries just gives it 2 different types of textures and flavor, because that freeze-dried strawberry is really concentrated. All right, my butter is in. I'm going to mix it gently. You can use a pastry cutter and do this by hand, by the way. I just use my mixture whenever I can. With this big batch, though, I'm a little worried about the flour that's going to fly out. But I'm just trying to kind of cut in the butter and make little pea-sized pieces and get it mixed in. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's not going to poof now. So then while that's going, I'm going to get my strawberries prepped and my lemon zest, and I'm gonna have to wash some more eggs. I'm gonna have to use another bowl for the chickens here because mine is full of eggshells. I'll have to walk it out in a few minutes and give them a little treat. They'll be excited for a midday snack. That's not normal for them. I'm doing 3 cups, measuring them after they're diced, and this is the fresh strawberries. That looks like just a couple left. That was enough. let's go ahead and do the freeze-dried strawberries and lemon zest. Okay, I need about 1.5 cups of freeze-dried. I'm just going to add it to here, and I'm going to eyeball it. And I'm kind of just going to munch them up. Actually, no, some of these are harder than others. Let's go ahead and chop them. I'm not making these tiny, just smaller because they were pretty big chunks. There were some large strawberries in there. Okay. And then I'm also going to do some lemon zest. I'm doing 3 recipes, so I need about 3 tablespoons. Making sure I don't get the white pith in there, because that is bitter. That smells so good. Okay, I need to wash up a couple more eggs. You know, at first, I'm going to wash up some of this to get it out of my way so that I have room to wash up things as I need it. Okay, I took 5 minutes to get a few things hand washed and put away, dried, so that I had space to clean eggs and other things. Real quick though, I want to get these popped out of the pan. Something my mom taught me when I was young, and I don't know if it's actually true, but it has always worked for me, so I still do it. My mom is no longer with us, but her baking habits are, is that when muffins come out of the oven, and I've waited a bit on the long side here, you wait like 1 to 3 minutes and just kind of rim them and pop them out and let them finish cooling that way. Otherwise, they will kind of sweat underneath and get gooey. I don't know if you've ever left muffins in the pan to cool all the way. It's not great, but they're not easy to take out right away. But if you wait like 1 to 2 minutes, they kind of do this, like they kind of just let go a little bit and then become a lot easier to deal with. So I just always kind of pop them on their sides to finish cooling all the way around. So this pan is quite a bit easier to pull out than this one. They're both nonstick pans. Is this the one that had the flour? No, this one had the flour in that pan. So this is the pan that I had greased and floured. All right, it is coming up easier than this one that I didn't flour, but this old one that I didn't flour is also pretty easy. See, I was going to look for a brand difference in the two. This old one is, it's a Pampered Chef one. I didn't even know I had a Pampered Chef muffin tin. And this one, I just got these at Walmart, these two. They were cheap. They were like the cheapest non-disposable ones at Walmart. So whatever those are, they just don't release as easy. But the flour did make a difference versus the one that did not have the flour. Let's get some burritos assembled. This is an easy process. Just fill, roll, repeat. I'm going to start with the regular ones. So regular eggs, regular potatoes, my sausage mix, cheese. I was like, I'm missing something. Cheese. I am using cheddar today. I think pepper jack would have been really nice with the paprika potatoes and the green chili eggs. I think that would have been a good combo. I don't have that on hand, and I didn't think of it until after I had already gone shopping. All right, so I'm going to do one package this way and then one package the other way. And you know what? There's 8 in here, so I bet I can do 4 at a time and roll them and get them out of my way. I do like to let the ingredients for these cool slightly because I do end up touching them with my fingers. Potatoes. Now my youngest daughter will eat these as is. My husband likes to add ketchup to his. I prefer like a salsa or like a sweet spicy sauce. Those 4. Now I got these 4. All right, before I go mixing these up with the other ones, I'm going to go ahead and wrap and label these because this is totally something I would do. is that I will put a stack of these over here and a stack of the new ones over there, and then I'm going to forget which ones are which, or I'm going to confuse them. So I like to individually wrap them. I find that it makes it less prone to freezer burn if it has the two different layers, this and then the bag. And then I also like them not sticking together or anything when I get however many I want out. It makes it really easy to just get one or two out, or enough for the whole family, whichever. I am not a huge batch freezer cooking person. I do like breakfast, though. It makes school mornings such a nicer thing. I get up at 5, and I don't wake up my kids till 6:20, so I have plenty of time to make a good breakfast. But there's a lot of things I try to get done in the morning before my kids wake up, and I want them to have a really good breakfast. So if I can make school morning breakfast faster and easier on me and not compromise what they're eating before school, I love that. I do also make a few dinners, mostly for the crock pot. I think I did make a chicken video once with like 5 crock pot freezer chicken dinners. I can link that for you in an iCard, which I think would be over there. I'm testing this out. Is the iCard that way? I use those either for busy seasons, like right now. We have both track and tennis going on, and sometimes things don't go that smoothly, and so it's nice to just have dinner in a crock pot. The other thing is in the summer, I like to have them, one, to not heat up the house so much, but also to have dinner going, because I am out there gardening in the morning while it's cool. I'm in here preserving in the afternoon, and so to not have, I'm on my feet all day. I don't want to be on my feet again cooking dinner. Plus, sometimes the kitchen is a mess because I've been canning and what have you, and so it's just nice to have dinner over there doing its own thing. You know what I mean? I'm just labeling these SECP, sausage, egg, cheese, potato, and the month and year. So to reheat these, all I do is I pull these out. I'm pretty good at the night before, right before I go to bed, I'm like, ugh, breakfast in the morning. Pulling things out of the freezer and sitting it in the fridge to thaw. And so then in the morning, I would unwrap these from the press and seal and then put them on a paper towel or a plate and heat them. I want to say like a minute or a minute and 30 is what I typically do with these. All right, let's wrap the other ones. These are the ones that have the potatoes we made with paprika and garlic salt. Same sausage mixture. Remember, that was that maple breakfast sausage along with regular sausage. And then the eggs, I added some green chilies to. So that sausage, I'm just tasting this right now. Remember we did the mixture there with the maple sausage and the regular sausage. And that was, I think, a good combination, because you don't taste any maple. It doesn't taste sweet at all, but there is a little bit of sweetness that takes the edge off of the spiciness of regular sausage. It's not hot sausage, but you know, all sausage has a little bit of spice. So it kind of just balances that, but it's not an obvious sweetness. All right, get these ones put in the baggie. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the croissant sandwiches too. And then I will have room in here to get the last few things done. First, let's see how this came out. These are not going to be perfectly straight. Don't judge. 1, 2, 3, 4, a little bit thinner than that. I probably should have gotten like a big biscuit cutter. Let's see how these do. I have a feeling it's going to be like brownies, where like the first one is kind of a sacrifice coming out. Okay. Those are kind of small strips on the end. I have a feeling too that if I would have removed them from here when they were still warm, it might have been a little better. They're actually not bad. They're coming out. It looks like I'm struggling, but I'm just trying to force this underneath to see. Yeah, it's not bad. I'm okay. I would do this again. I totally would. Remember, I'm going to do half of them with the bacon here and half of them with ham. And I don't put any condiments on these because my family, each person likes a different condiment on their sandwich. And my youngest doesn't want anything on hers. Just plain. She will occasionally put ranch on one. Ham. Okay, I'm going to start by slicing all these in half. Split these all out in pairs. Okay, I'm going to start with egg. What did I do? I just put stuff on the tops. Put the cheese on them. For these, for storage, I like to put each one in a sandwich-sized Ziploc bag. It makes it really easy for someone to get out just one, if they're making their own breakfast or something, or if I need to pull out a couple. It's also pretty protective, I find, again, like with the burritos, wrapping them in individually and then in the Ziploc bag helps protect against freezer burn. It keeps them a nice texture so the bread doesn't get hard while it's in the freezer. To remake them in the mornings, I take them out again the night before, just sit them in the fridge, and then I take them out of their Ziploc bag and I just put them on a plate, and I want to say that I microwave them for like 45 seconds maybe. They thaw out pretty quick. So in the morning, they are like completely thawed. Maple, pepper, bacon, egg, cheese. You could fit 6 in one bag. I'm just doing half and half. But if you were doing one of the packages of croissants, it has 6 in it, and you could do them in one Ziploc bag. All right. So I'm going to say that this plan of the eggs on the pan sheet, winner. Doing that again. All right, let's get the ham on. This is just ham lunch meat from Aldi. I like the thin slice. It's got a great price for a no nitrate lunch meat. I put 2 slices on each one. My daughter would probably like 1. She likes a thin layer of everything, but my husband likes extra of everything, you know, so 2 is somewhere in the middle. These are good with a Dijon mustard. That's what I like to put on mine, the plain ones here. And we'll get the cheese on, and those will be done. Okay, I was going to go ahead and package up the muffins, but they could use like a couple more minutes of cool time. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get back to those scones. We have the flour going with the butter, trying to get it like pea-sized and crumbly looking. And in addition to the strawberries and the lemon here, I'm going to need 6 eggs and a 1.5 cups of cream. I need to wash more eggs. So right now, one of the things with like scones, muffins, biscuits, you don't want to overwork the dough. It gets tough. Right now, I can mix the flour with the butter because there's not a whole lot of liquid in butter. But once I add the cream and the eggs to it, then I have to start being careful. If I want the scones to be nice and tender and flaky, I have to be careful about how much I'm mixing and handling it. So I'm going to add the liquids here. I'm going to add the eggs, and I need 1.5 cups of the cream. Just 1.5 cups. I'm going to go real slow here. I'm going to swap out the whisk for the paddle attachment, and I'm going to add in the strawberries and lemon. And I know that I mentioned that warm strawberry jam is delicious on this, and it totally is. Lemon curd is also good on this. Just drizzle it almost like icing over the top. Delicious. At this point, I'm going to go flour up my island over there and dump this out. Okay. I better put an apron on so I don't get all floury. I do tend to get floury once I have flour on the counter. Okay. So I'm going to be pretty generous. You don't want to mix too much extra flour into the dough, but I have a very wet dough here, and I want to make sure it's not sticking because I do need to finish kneading it. Here we go. It's a lot. It's a lot of scone dough. I'm at this point trying to get it into one well-mixed mass. So I have a lot of flour that is loose. So what I want to do at this point is I'm going to separate this into thirds because this is a triple recipe. So I'm starting with just this mass right here. I'm going to get my fingers floured. Okay. I'm not kneading this. It looks like I'm like a bread dough, and I'm not actually doing that. I'm kind of just pressing it down to make sure that it sticks together. And then at this point, I'm going to cut it. So sometimes when I am putting something in the freezer that is not flat, like muffins or scones, I will cut a piece of like foam core or cardboard or something and cover it and put it on that and put that in a Ziploc bag. I was walking through Walmart the other day and cutting across the craft and cake section, and I found these little cake boards. Sometimes I do these in squares. They only had round ones. 10-inch will fit in the Ziploc bags. And so what I'm going to do is cover these just to save myself some work and put it on here. And that just helps it be more firm when I'm transporting it, so I don't have little triangles going all over the place and ruining the shape of the scones and all that. So I'm just going to cover one of these. And then when I want to thaw it out and bake it, I can just take them off. I just slide them off onto a cookie sheet, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so I do mine in 1/8. You can go bigger or smaller if you want. When I thaw and bake them, I will brush them with more cream, and I like to put the coarse sugar on top of mine. I think that's pretty. Okay, so I will freeze them in the dough. I just prefer that versus baked already, but you can bake them and do them. Getting all these strawberries that fall out pushed back in. Flour my knife because that helps too. So for today, I'm actually going to put 2 of these in the freezer, and I'm going to put 1 in the fridge for breakfast tomorrow. That will give me an easy recovery from baking today. These are strawberry lemonade scones, and to bake these, 400 for 16 to 20 minutes. I have my recipes in my little binder, but I just prefer when I pull these out to have the directions right there so I don't have to go find my recipe. All right, I'm gonna do my my version of a vacuum seal on here. Suck out the air with a straw. All right, these are ready to go in the freezer. I'm going to wrap that one and put it in the fridge for tomorrow. It always feels really good to already have breakfast ready for the next day. Last but not least, I'm going to make a oatmeal cookie dough bake. And I need my mixer for that. So I'm going to go clean up over here and clean up my mixer. I don't need my mixer for that. I just prefer to use my mixer. And this is a recipe that we have all the time, like every week for breakfast, and it's still requested even after all this time. Again, I'm doing a triple batch, and I wrote down my triple batch numbers. This is a recipe that does not have flour again, so if it's an oat-based recipe, so if you are gluten-free, it's a good recipe. Just make sure your oats are really gluten-free. This is an easy dump and bake recipe. I'm going to triple it and hope it all fits in the mixer. And it has pretty darn clean ingredients as well. And by the way, this is, how do I want to say it? This is one of those recipes that I never really measure for. And it's very forgiving. You can be a little bit off on any of the ingredients and it's fine. It's totally fine. Okay, getting it to a cup. A little bit more. Okay, and with peanut butter in here, it's got an okay amount of protein, which is one of the things on school mornings I really try to make sure my kids get into. Okay, for this triple batch, 4.5 cups of applesauce. A single batch would be 1.5 cups. I am freshly out of my own homemade applesauce. So I bought this stuff at Aldi, and I don't think I realized when I bought it that it was a gigantic jar. Syrup. Now remember, this is a triple batch. So that's why I'm going to put in so much of this. All right, I need 3/4 cup of syrup. Okay, 3 tablespoons of vanilla. That's a lot of vanilla. One of these days I'll get a cute vanilla bottle to keep my homemade vanilla in. I just keep reusing these old ones that I just washed and wrote on. Okay, 4.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And 4.5 cups of oats. I have a 1/2 cup measure that I keep in my oat jar, so we're going to need 9 of those. Good thing I buy oats in giant bags from Azure. Okay, and then we need 2.25 cups of almond flour. Next part is totally, completely optional. I'm going to add 3 eggs. Now, I only started adding eggs a couple weeks ago. Here's what happened. I was thinking about this video. I've never made it I've been making this since my kids were, well, before I even had all my kids. So, you know, like 16 years-ish. And I always made it without eggs. So it's fine. If you have an egg allergy, this is great. But when I was thinking about this video and I was like, you know, I think I'm going to freeze my oatmeal cookie dough bake, I started looking at recipes online for baked oatmeal to see if there were directions for freezing it, because I had never made it to freeze. And I wanted to test it out, which I did, just to make sure for you guys. And I noticed, though, that all of those recipes had eggs in them. And for me, with my chickens, I have so many eggs to use up. And so I decided to just sneak an egg in one day with my kids. I just snuck one in. I just snuck one into the batch and see if they noticed, which they didn't. And I'm like, up the protein content plus use up some eggs, double win right there. I did make this also with 2 eggs per batch to see. And while my kids didn't really notice the eggs, I kind of did. It doesn't taste eggy. It just made it a different texture. And so I just decided to stick with 1 egg per recipe because that was still a win for me to add an egg in. It adds protein and it adds eggs, which I always need to use up. Really, you just have to mix this. And because it's so much, it's kind of like soupy in the middle and dry on the outside. I'm going to add chocolate chips. I am estimating that it's going to be, I don't know, this is a cup and a half maybe. I add some in and then I mix it around and I see how chippy it looks and if that's what I want to add. And to cook this, I normally just dump it into a casserole dish. Today I picked up some of those foil baking pans for freezing this. I am going to freeze this uncooked, by the way. You can cook it and then freeze it and then reheat it. Two things. Since I'm putting mine in aluminum foil pans, I don't want to put that in the microwave to reheat it, and I would have to put it in the oven, and if you cook it all the way, that would dry it out a little bit. You could slightly undercook it, especially if you do it without eggs, because then there's nothing really dangerous in here. I just decided that I also like it better. It feels to me more like it comes out the same way it does fresh if I just put the batter in a baking tin and then cook it that way versus cooking it and then freezing it. So it's just a preference. You could do it either way. All right, I'm going to get this into 3 baking tins, and I'm going to get them greased. And I'm just going to eyeball, try to make these equal, a third, and a third. This looks about even. I'm just going to spread it out. And this is our 5th and final dish for today. We have done 16 breakfast burritos, 18 breakfast croissant sandwiches, 3 scones with 8 each. That's 24 scones. We have done 3 dozen muffins and 3 oatmeal cookie dough bakes. These often, now that my son has left, these will be enough for us with a little left over. My kids will often snack on it when they get home from school. So to wrap these up, I'm going to use both the press and seal and foil. The press and seal is going to go right down over top, making contact with the oatmeal so it doesn't get any freezer burn right there. These are kind of deep pans. I got them at Costco. So they're great for like giving meals to people, having kids, that kind of stuff. But they're kind of deep for regular stuff. Put that over the top and then bake them at 350. I'm going to label it oatmeal cookie dough bake 350, 18 to 22 minutes. I just look for it to start to brown on the outside. All right, now I need to package up those muffins. I think I'm going to put 8 in a bag because I think that is about what our family needs in the morning. Chocolate, banana. And these just need to be thawed, and if you like them warm, just nuke them a little bit. These would be another good thing to go on those cake boards. Let's see, it's 2:30, so 3.5 hours. We got breakfast for, I don't even know how many days this is. I normally add it up so that I can plan for the future, but a lot of breakfast going on. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. If you have a great recipe that's freezable for breakfast, drop it in the comments below because I'm always adding to my repertoire. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys on the next video.